Do you ever feel like you're living Groundhog Day as a manager, where every day is just an endless stream of problems to solve, fires to put out, and team members who are pretty much demanding your attention? And that no matter how much you try, like no matter how much work you put into the day, you never feel like you're getting on top of things? Well, you definitely would not be alone in those feelings. I'm sure there's a lot of people that could relate to you, but also doesn't mean it's okay. In fact, operating in this space where you're consistently in chaos cannot be good for your physical health, your emotional or mental health, and it's definitely not good for your social life either. And if you're operating in this space, it probably means you're not making the impact that you want to as a leader, because you're most likely capping the potential of your team, which is costing the organization and could eventually cost you your job if you don't burn out and quit before then. So if this sounds like you, I want you to stick around, because in today's video, I'm going to unpack for you the reason why so many managers fall into this trap, what to do if it turns out you have a needy team that can't seem to do things without you, and then I'm going to share with you the exact method that I use that will help you get off the hamster wheel of chaos so that you can start making an impact in your role. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in that situation where you set aside some time on your calendar to get something really important done, but then all of a sudden someone knocks on your door or sends you a message in Teams asking for your help to do something? So of course you stop what you're doing to help them, but then an hour goes by and you have lost the focus and the energy to be able to do the thing you want to do? Well, that has happened to me a number of times, where my common default was, yeah, sure, let me help you with that. Because, I mean, isn't that what a manager is supposed to do? Support their team members in their struggles and challenges? Well, while that statement on its own is a very accurate one, it's also exactly where the problem lies. See, this term that a manager is supposed to be a source of support for their team has come to mean for a lot of people that they should be doing the work for their team or doing the thinking for their team. And listen, I can understand how that would happen. I mean, for me, I came to this definition because of what I had observed in other people managers, right? I observed them doing the work for their team or telling their team exactly what to do. And then what I did was I coupled that with my own need to be needed. Because I mean, if I don't have all the answers and if I'm not putting out the fires, then what exactly is my purpose here? So between the belief rooted in what you might have seen others do, and then couple that with the fact that nobody sits you down and says, hey, this is not how you demonstrate your value, then you can easily get stuck on this hamster wheel of consistently reacting to your team's needs, thus never having the time to do the real things that are bringing value to the team and to the organization. In order to get off this trap or this hamster wheel, what you really need to do is actually shift your belief systems around what it means to be a manager, specifically what it means to be a supportive manager. And what you have to ground your value in now is knowing that your value comes from empowering your team, not reacting to your team. Because when you empower your team, what you'll see is your results will start to change. Your team will begin to operate more autonomously and take ownership of their work because of the fact that they're able to think through things on their own. That might be easier said than done for so many reasons. And one of the reasons that comes up quite often for our NMA students is the fact that sometimes you just have a needy team, one that needs your assistance at every nook and cranny of the process. So we actually had a student, her name was Sandra, who went through exactly this situation where her team was consistently coming to her at different points in different processes for assistance, even though she had what she called airtight processes and systems to help support them in being able to solve some of these problems on their own. Naturally, she was pretty frustrated because she wasn't able to make traction in her day, which I'm sure you can relate to. So she came to one of our calls and she said, Mac, what do I do? How do I figure this out? Because I can't keep operating in this way. So what we did was we challenged her to actually challenge her assumption by asking her, well, what if what you believe to be true isn't? Why did we ask her this question? Well, to that point, she had been operating under the assumption that more process or more structure was the answer to getting her team to solve problems on their own. Because for her, when she feels like she's in a lost place or doesn't know what to do, she relies on process. She relies on structure. So she assumed that, well, the team isn't able to do this thing on their own, so what I'm going to do is make sure that they have more structure. Now, clearly, that assumption was not true, because if it was, all those airtight processes processes and structures would have helped them to be able to do the thing that she was hoping they would do. But it didn't do that. In fact, all it did was increase the number of questions they had. So if you can relate to this situation where your team is consistently coming to you, asking you questions, asking you to solve some problems that they should be able to solve on their own, then I want you to take a step back, take a hot second and pause and ask yourself a series of questions. I want you to ask yourself questions like, is this a retention issue? Meaning, is the team member approaching me because they are forgetting the steps? Is this a process issue? Meaning, is the process unclear, confusing, or complicated? And lastly, is this a confidence issue? Meaning, does this individual lack the confidence they need to make a decision? Hence, they keep checking in with me at every step of the way. So those questions that I just surfaced for you are really important questions, because once you consider those questions, you'll be able to determine the root cause of the problem, which will then enable you to apply the right technique and approach to the issue. Now, going back to Sandra, who spent months and months, applying the wrong technique, and then of course, wasting her time essentially because nothing was changing. When she actually stopped for a moment and challenged her assumptions and really determined the root cause, what she ended up finding out was that it wasn't the process. What it was that her team was not feeling confident about making decisions at different points in the process. So once she was able to get to that place where she figured out, oh, it's the decision making, they're not confident, then she was able to apply some trainings to help them get through things. But listen, you cannot be putting all of this on your team, because sometimes it's as simple as the way that you are approaching your week, which I think is actually the biggest shift that you're going to have to make to what you're doing. Sometimes when I talk to my students about moving away from reactivity and how the key to moving out of that reactivity is proactivity, they'll often say, Mac, I get it, but I already have so much on my plate. How do I have time to try and be proactive? But here's the thing though, continuing to say that you do not have time to be proactive guarantees that you will continue to play defense. I'm going to say that again because I think this is really important. Continuing to say that you do not have time to be proactive guarantees that you will always be playing defense. Now, yes, I am the first to admit that that first initial time investment can be a hard one, but it will kind of release the ongoing pain that is associated with consistently feeling like you're not making a difference. And I know that's painful for you, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. That doesn't mean that I want you to just go out blindly trying to figure out how to be proactive, because it's still important that you're purposeful with your time, right? We want to make wise time investments, which is exactly why in the New Manager Accelerator program, I teach my students a very specific method that will actually gain them more time, reduce the stress that they have, which will help them to get ahead of a lot of these common people management issues. This method consists of 3 parts or phases. Phase 1 is the debrief. So the debrief is an intentional pause in your week to determine what's happening, what's not happening, and most importantly, the why behind what you're observing. This puts an end to the common human nature of just doing the thing that's always been done without realizing it's causing you weight. Phase 2 is prioritization, which is the process of strategically choosing what you will do in what order that will give you the biggest ROI. In most cases, it's also choosing what will solve the undercurrent of distractions. And then phase 3 is the plan, which by the way is my personal favorite because of the fact that it just sings to my type A personality. This plan is all about building something that is implementable, that solutions while also accounting for the inevitable. Because we all know that what doesn't get planned doesn't get done. Or if it does get done, it gets done with far less intentionality because of the fact that it was rushed. There's a well-known saying, which I'm sure you've heard before, which is the best defense is a good offense. Don't set yourself up for failure by flipping that around, by always playing defense. Set yourself up for success now by being proactive in what you're doing. Now, before you go off running trying to apply everything that I talked to you about today, I do want to have a heart-to-heart with you. While the steps that I talked about in today's video can be really helpful to relieving some of the stress that you're feeling and helping you to not feel like you're behind the 8 ball all the time, I'd be lying if I said that it was everything you needed. Because the truth is, there are so many factors that play a role in being stuck in this cycle, from feeling like you don't have a sense of clarity to lacking the prioritization and proactive tools that you need to get ahead. At the end of the day, impactful leaders do not become impactful by chance or by accident. They have frameworks, they have skills, they have tools, they have support and guidance, all of which compounds to helping them effectively lead so that they can experience the joy of feeling like they're actually making a difference in their role. This is exactly why I created the New Manager Accelerator program, so that I can give you the tools and the practical support that you need so that you can be the leader that you wanted to be when you said yes to the position in the first place. So if you want to have absolutely everything you need handed to you so that you can be successful in this role, then follow the link in the description box below to learn more about the New Manager Accelerator program.